What's going on? Welcome to the First Down Football Show. My name is Andrew Gradinskis, and today we're going to be going over our top 10 running backs for the 2026 NFL Draft. So without further ado, let's get right into it. At 10, I have Le'Veon Moss from Texas A&M. Comes in at 5'11", weighing 203 pounds. He's going to be 24 before the start of the NFL season. Some of his strengths are he's elite on the goal line. This is shown by his 22 career touchdowns in college. He's a patient runner, and again, that speaks to his success on the goal line and also in short yardage situations. He has a three down back skill set. He has the ability to play physical, yet also has enough speed and agility to be an explosive back in early downs. Some of his weaknesses are he's a tall runner. He runs a little bit tall. This kind of works against him, where the patient runner attribute works against him, causing him to take a little bit too much time behind the line of scrimmage. He also lacks breakaway speed. He didn't run the 40 yet at the combine, and I don't know if he is going to run it at the pro day, but his projected 40 time is 4.52 seconds, which isn't terrible, but compared to some of the other running backs in the class, it isn't great. And he tends to go down on first contact, which is something that he'll definitely need to improve on at the next level. You know, you look at the great backs, they're able to make guys miss. They're able to take that first hit and get the yards after carry, or yards after contact, excuse me. So that's something that he's going to have to develop into. But for that reason, I have him as a late day 3 guy, someone I'd be comfortable taking in the 6th round or early 7th, taking a shot on him, because I do think he has that upside to potentially be a 3 down back. But he just hasn't proved that so far throughout his career in college. At 9, I have Demond Claiborne. This is a running back from Wake Forest. Comes in at 5'9", 188 pounds. Some of his strengths are he's a contact runner, even though he has a smaller build. Something that is impressive to see, but is also very useful for him. He's hard to bring down in space. You know, he has that agility, but combined with power, which is something that makes him a very useful weapon at the next level. And again, he has that kick return and pass catching upside. Someone that you're drafting to be that 3rd down back, who more that scat back who can go out and make a play through the pass game on 3rd down, but can also pick up some situations in short yardage if you're running out of gun. Some of his weaknesses: undersized, obviously. Being sub 200 pounds is difficult, so he doesn't have the size you'd like to see for a 3 down back. Someone who's going to be your bell cow. And again, lack of urgency. I just have that here because sometimes in the patient runner, although he is a patient runner and he has very good vision, sometimes that works against him and it can cause losses on the play. But overall, I think he's an explosive athlete with special teams upside and a guy that I would really want my team to draft. So I have him going in the 5th round. Because of positional value, but also because where he stacks up with some of the other running back class, or with the other running backs in the class. At 8, I have Nick Singleton, running back from Penn State, a guy who was one of the most electric players early on in his career. Had the ability to break tackles and have that home run playmaking ability, but never really put it together year in and year out. Obviously, he had a down year this year. Everyone from that Penn State roster did. But 2024, he showed some upside. He showed some promise. He finished the year with almost 1,100 yards and 17 touchdowns. He has pass catching upside as well, with 41 receptions and 375 yards and 5 touchdowns from that 2024 season. He's a freak athlete. He broke Saquon Barkley's squat record at Penn State as a freshman. Like I mentioned, he has the pass catching ability, and he's also a physical runner. And he's also physical in pass protection as well, something that sets him apart from the other running backs in this class. Some of his weaknesses are he doesn't make people miss, which is surprising for a guy that athletic. He doesn't cover a lot of space. or a lot of ground on his jump cuts. He doesn't really have that wiggle that you'd like to see. Limited vision. He's kind of a straightforward runner, and it plays into his physical running style. But you'd like to see someone as athletic as him. He ran a 4.35 second 40 time. He was clocked at 23.5 miles per hour. You'd like to see him be a little bit more elusive, but someone just that hasn't put it together yet. But hoping that you can get that out of him by drafting him this year. I have him in the fifth round. Again, not super high on this running back class, but worth taking a shot here on a freakish athlete like Nick Singleton. At 7, I have Kalen Black from Indiana. Someone who a lot of people probably have going in the seventh round or undrafted. But Kalen Black is a guy that I really like. He comes in at 5'10", 211. He is on the older side. He's going to be 25 around the start of the season, which is a concern, especially at the running back position. But I think there's just too much to like to not draft him. He's a physical runner. He's able to break off, 6 to 8 yard chunks again and again and again. You see this in the Indiana offense. He has surprising lateral agility for a guy who runs as physically as him. He's also great in pass protection, which is surprising to see. He's a willing blocker, and he's just a guy that loves football. Some of his weaknesses are he wasn't used as a pass catcher, so you don't really know the upside of his pass catching ability. I would say that you're not drafting him to be a pass catcher. He lacks the long play ability, and his age obviously is a concern with his injury history. He had a season-ending injury when he played for James Madison. The comp that he's being compared to a lot is Kyle Monangai, former rookie for the Bears this last year, but someone who was able to produce very early on in their rookie season. So I have Kalen Black. I have a fifth round grade on him. I think he's worth a shot in the fifth round, a guy who's going to be a serviceable running back, and can be a real spark plug, for you. At 6, I have Katron Allen, Nick Singleton's running mate from Penn State. Comes in at 5'11", 216. He shows explosive flashes. He's kind of that Sonic and Knuckles duo, if you will, for Penn State last year. I should say the year before, because last year they really struggled. But he has the explosive flashes on film, and he's also a physical runner. He's a 3-down back. He has the build for a 3-down back in the skill set, which is huge. The weakness would be he has a small sample size. Obviously being in an offense with another highly prolific running back like Singleton, his carries are cut in half. One thing about Allen that really sticks out is he had 6.2 yards per carry, which is really impressive. And he was one of the only bright spots on that team last year for Penn State. I have speed here as a little bit of a question just because he did not test for the 40. It's not looking like he's going to test. So, it's something that you're going to have to judge that based on the film. I wouldn't have it as a huge knock just because I think his play speed speaks for itself. But overall, I have a fifth round grade on Katron Allen. Now let's start at the top 5. At 5, I have Emmett Johnson from Nebraska. 5'10", 202 pounds. Some of his strengths are he's elite agility, and he's extremely productive as well. He was the third leading rusher in FBS last year with 1,451 yards. He led all RBs in FBS in receptions with 46. And he also had 68 forced missed tackles. So he makes people miss. Something that is huge at the next level. So while those strengths are really great, his weaknesses kind of are what are responsible for putting him here at 5th. I think he'll be a serviceable back, not someone that you necessarily want starting for you on day 1. But he lacks that RB1 size. He ran slow at the 40 time. I believe it was one of the slowest, if not the slowest. I think it was the slowest 40 time out of all the running backs at 4.56 seconds at the combine. Obviously, while he does have that agility, you'd like to see a little bit more from the straight line speed. And he has pass pro concerns as well. PFF had him at ranked, had rated him at 43.5 for his pass protection last year at Nebraska. So it's a little concerning, especially if you would like to see him be that three down back in the future. So I just don't think he can be that guy, but I think he's, a serviceable back to have in the backfield, and someone that you can pair with another elite or average back. So for that, I have him going in the fourth round here. Mike Washington, I have him at 4. A lot of people have him kind of closer to 2 or 3, and for good reason. I mean, his combine, he flashed. He ran a 4.33 40, and he killed all the athletic drills. He comes in at 6'1", 223. He has that three down back size. He's able to translate speed to power. That 4.33 speed, but also is a powerful runner at the point of contact. He's also a patient runner, and he has great juke/cut ability. He's able to make guys miss. Some of his knocks, which are a little concerning, are his ball security. He had 10 career fumbles, 8 in the last 2 years. So you'd like to see that, be under a little more control. Ball security is everything. His pass protection has some concerns, and his size does not translate in short yardage. You think for a stockier back, a guy who is kind of that speed to power rusher. He tends to struggle to pick up short yardage gains sometimes, especially on the goal line. You see that a couple times throughout his film. Obviously, Arkansas didn't have the best offensive line, and going against the SEC schedule, they were outmatched a lot, especially in the trenches. So, what is that accredited to the offensive line versus Washington? I think it's something that behind the NFL line he'll be better at, but overall, I have a third round grade on him. I still would like to see a little bit more production from him. I know the athletic stats are incredible and probably the best in the class, but would like to see a little bit more production before taking him earlier on day 2. My third running back in this class, now we're at the top 3. I have Jonah Coleman from Washington, 5'8", but 220 pounds. And he has elite vision. Something that really sticks out for him is he's had 0 fumbles and over 400 plus career carries. So he's a guy that, kind of the opposite of that Mike Washington, like we just talked about. Ball security is huge for him. And he's just a powerful runner as well. And he's willing to, be a really great option in pass protection as well if you want to keep the running back in on passing situations. He's a physical player. Where he kind of lacks is he doesn't have that elite breakaway speed, and he has limited pass catching ability. So, is he gonna be a 3 down back, or is he gonna be someone that you're gonna have in on passing situations? And then he's just not as athletic as some of the other backs in the class. So you kind of have Mike Washington and Jonah Coleman. Those are your opposites. So it's just going to come down to preference. Me personally, I think the league is going more towards tough physical backs that can put you ahead of the sticks on first and second down. I think Jonah Coleman is that guy, and I'm willing to take a third round pick on him. So I have him graded here in the third round. At 2, again, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised by these top 2. But I have Jadarian Price from Notre Dame. Comes in at 5'10", 203 pounds. He's an explosive runner. He has great elusiveness. He also has that kick return upside, which is something that you like to see, whenever you can get special teams upside out of a guy you're drafting potentially in round 2 or 3. He was never a number one back, which is obviously a weakness, just because he was being overshadowed by Jeremiah Love, who we're going to talk about in a second. Um, Limited receiving production. He had 15 career receptions, and just going off that, never was a number one back. He never had more than 15 carries in a game throughout his career in college. So, does he have what it takes to produce as a number one back in the NFL? Obviously, in a crowded backfield at Notre Dame, didn't have that opportunity, but I'm sure with the traits, some team will be willing to take a flyer on him to be their starting running back. I look at the Vikings, I look at the Seahawks, teams like that are kind of desperate for that running back to come in, and whether it's to pair with a guy like Charbonnet or to be that main bell cow, I think Price is the guy that can do that. I have a day two grade on him just because I'd be comfortable taking him towards the end of the second round, but maybe even early third. Not a guy that I would consider taking in the first round or even as early as he's been projected. I've seen the Giants at 37. I think the Bengals are a sleeper. I don't think they're going to target Jeremiah Love in the first round, but in the second round, potentially Jadarian Price would be a good fit there. Because Chase Brown has 1 year left on his deal. Price in this Bengals offense, I think, would be really explosive and add to the arsenal in that offense. But overall, day two grade on Price. Maybe I'm a little lower than the general population, but that's all right. Going into the number one running back in the class, obviously, everyone already knew it. Jeremiah Love, again from Notre Dame. If Love and Price are the first two running backs off the board, it'd be the first time ever in NFL history that the first two running backs are drafted from the same school, which would be kind of cool here. And I have that projected on my board here. Love comes in at 6 foot, 212 pounds. He is elite speed. You see that breakaway speed. The play that comes to mind immediately is that 97-yard touchdown run against Indiana 2 years ago in the college football playoff. He excels in zone and outside scheme, something that translates to the NFL at a high level, and he has that home run ability. Weaknesses, I only had two instead of three like everyone else. Pass protection is a weakness of his, but I think it's not anything major. And then route running. I just, they didn't have him running a very diverse route tree at Notre Dame, and nor are you in the NFL, but something that, you'd like to see from a guy that you're taking potentially in the top 10, top 5. I have a top 5 grade on him, as I previously mentioned in the other video about the quarterbacks. When I'm grading, I take out the positional value. So overall, I think he's my number 1 or 2 prospects. I think I might have Sonny Styles above him and then Love, but obviously that's without positional value. Obviously, being a running back and linebacker in Styles' case, they're going to end up going a little bit lower than that. But I think from just true talent, he is a blue chip prospect, one of probably 2 or 3 in this class, and I think he's worth a top. I would feel comfortable from like 8 to 15, just because I don't think he is the prospect that Saquon Barkley was or Bijan Robinson. I think he's kind of more in that Gibbs range. I think Gibbs went 12 to the Lions a couple years ago, so that's where I'd be more comfortable. I like the fit of Washington, the Commanders grabbing him. I think the Titans would be stupid to grab Jeremiah Love, honestly. I think there's just too many holes on that roster, and there's a lot of other needs they need to address before grabbing a guy like Love. I think, again, if he drops to 10, the Bengals are an intriguing team. Do they take him? If he falls even further than that, do the Ravens take a look at him? But overall, he's a blue chip prospect that's going to produce at a high level in the NFL. And so for that, I have a top 5 grade on him in this class. That's going to do it for today. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. We're going to be doing this for every position in the next couple weeks leading up to the draft. We're going to have mock drafts everything draft content that you could possibly want. We're going to be doing draft breakdowns, film breakdowns, and reviews over on TikTok, so make sure to follow us there. That's going to do it today. Thank you for listening. Have a good one.